Hello, Sprawlers, and welcome back to another episode of the Sprawl. That's the introduction.
Good introduction.
Or,
Love
it will do.
hmm
So, anyway, should we just skip right to it?
Sure. So today's show is about where DC have gone wrong with their cinematic universe. Um,
And where do you start?
well, at the beginning usually. So yeah, like I've just been looking it up, and they have a number of projects in the pipeline at the moment, including what's coming out next year is Aquaman,
Yeah.
and then you've got Shazam, and then you've got Wonder Woman 2, Cyborg, and then Green Lantern Corps scheduled for 2020, which is a long way away and very ambitious considering how well their movies have gone down so far.
Well, it's not. I guess the DC isn't gonna be stopped by some critical planning or two.
No, well they haven't.
three.
They haven't always done bad. I mean, I think I've seen the only movie I genuinely disliked out of the ones that have come out so far was Batman vs Superman because it was boring. There was no
Right.
humor in it. It was just blah.
Why is it boring? Is it Zack Snyder?
It was just humorless. There was no humor in it, you know? I mean, and the thing is, unfortunately, DC have to admit it, they are compared to Marvel because they've always been rivals, and the Marvel universe has done such a good job of creating well-rounded characters that are both humorous and can create pathos in the audience. So, you know, they haven't had enough time in the DC universe to set up these characters to round them off well enough.
I mean, where does the DC universe actually? Okay, so by the way, full disclosure, I couldn't care less, is what I want to say, about the whole rivalry between Marvel and DC, because to me, film is film, but where does the canon begin?
Where does the canon begin?
Yeah,
Well,
like
in this universe.
yeah.
Well, it begins with Superman flying to Earth in a spaceship sent by his father, Laurel.
And what
So
film is-
that's the Man of Steel. Man of Steel starts the cinematic universe off. Now, Man of Steel, it's really interesting, came out in 2013, and then there was a further 3 years until the next film, which was Batman vs Superman: Dawn of Justice. And their mistake was not having at least 2 films in between to set up the characters and to round them off and to make them interesting. You know what was great about Wonder Woman,
What?
which is probably the least critically panned DC Universe film because it was actually good, was that
It was.
they focused on her character alone, and focused on her journey. And it was interesting and it was fun to watch, but we also cared. We also cared about what happened to her by the end. But the problem with Superman is that he's a one-dimensional character. So yeah, start off with Superman by all means. Set up the foundations for this universe. But you know, you need to round off these characters. You know, Batman vs Superman starts with Lois Lane effectively infiltrating I think it's a terrorist base or some kind of base. Jimmy Olsen gets killed straight away, but we didn't even know it's Jimmy Olsen, which is the thing. Jimmy Olsen's a massive part of the DC universe. He's like Clark Kent's apprentice photographer buddy, and Superman's best friend back in the day.
Was he in
in the
Smallville?
Golden Age. Jimmy Olsen, yeah, I think he was. I think when they moved to Metropolis, yeah, I think Jimmy Olsen's in it.
God, I'm just getting flashbacks to it. It's so boring.
He might not be though, because Jimmy Olsen. I don't know. I don't remember the last season of Smallville, but I do know they moved to Metropolis and he became a journalist, and then they were trying to set up like a budget Justice League type dealy with the different characters. And then Arrow came out and it sorted all the problems out, and any TV show since that has had the DC name attached to it has actually been quite good. But the films is what we're meant to be focusing on.
Yeah.
And
they are, well, there's some stinkers there.
well, like I said, the only one I really, really hated was Batman vs Superman. And the problem with Warner Brothers and DC is that they keep overhyping everything. It's like, look how cool these heroes are. Here, now swallow these pills, even though they're too big for you to swallow right now. The trouble is that, like I said, they haven't had enough time to round off the characters. We don't really care about who we're watching. The Justice League, which I saw and you didn't, last week, was
I feel like missed much.
No, but it was okay, but it was just okay. And every time I go and see an Avengers film, they get better and better because these characters are all overlapping into each other's stories, so you see them enough to want to care about them. DC hasn't done this, and they haven't given themselves the opportunity to do this. And the problem with Suicide Squad is, even though it's part of the same universe, it feels completely separate from the others because they had every opportunity to draw in the characters into each other's arcs. I think there's a small cameo by Batman in Suicide Squad, but that's literally it.
But okay, so I'm also now looking at the list of films released. That's it. Those 5 films. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was Man of Steel, 2013, Batman vs Superman, 2016, Suicide Squad in 2016, Wonder Woman this year, 2017, and Justice League, 2017.
So basically, it feels like it's missing at least 5 films in between Man of Steel and Batman v Superman for it to make any sense.
I don't know that you would need 5 films, but you would at least need a film with, like, Wonder Woman would have fit beautifully in between Man of Steel and Batman vs Superman, because it would have established Wonder Woman. But also they could have done something really interesting with overlapping the characters somehow. Bruce Wayne could have still met Diana in the same way as he meets her in Batman vs Superman, allowing them to then focus more on setting up the further conflict and universe, because Batman vs Superman starts with Bruce Wayne watching like the Wayne Tech building falling down and getting angry at Superman, but we don't care. Like, alright, yeah, horrible, awful, but lots of buildings fell down. Why is Batman's building any more important than anyone else's building, That's the problem. We don't care about these characters, and that's why we're not connecting with them, and that's why the DC universe is failing, and that's one of the reasons why the DC universe is failing.
Yeah, but they do have style. That's something you can't deny.
No, it's true. I mean, the problem with that is, yes, they have style, but they have no substance. Suicide Squad, I didn't hate.
Me neither.
And I enjoyed the style of it, but it had no substance, and it had a villainess who was just lacking in charisma. And Cara Delevingne, is that her name?
Yeah, Cara Delevingne.
She wasn't she wasn't as off-putting as critics have said she was, but she wasn't enough of a. Okay, for example, we saw Thor.
Yeah.
A couple of weeks ago.
Sure.
And as soon as Cate Blanchett was on the screen, we were drawn to her. She was interesting and fascinating. But this Cara Delevingne, was it the Enchantress? All she did was move funnily and then make some veiled threats. And it's like, oh, and look, there's another massive pillar of light in the sky, because for some reason in every single DC film there has to be a massive pillar of light that denotes the end of the world or the big final conflict.
But okay, I didn't have that much of issue with the content and the substance of Suicide Squad. Actually, my biggest issue with it was mostly the editing decisions. I mean, do you remember how the first half of the film, literally every other scene, or I guess every scene, they were putting in like one like major hit song. So like now we have.
Look how cool we are.
What was it when Deadshot started like with trying out all the guns and they had the Black Skinheads by Kanye playing, and then just cut to like a shot of like helicopters, just transitionary shot flying into the mission, and we have Spirit in the Sky playing. It's just like, come on.
It's too much. It's too much. You know, you watch a film like Guardians of the Galaxy, which did a fairly unknown group of characters from the comic book universe, but they had a limit on the songs they could use. You know, these are the songs on a cassette tape. So Star-Lord listens to these songs all the time. So as an audience, we also have to connect with those songs, and we do because we see the story of why he has that tape and why it's the only thing he listens to and it's his only connection to planet Earth.
Plus, if you don't mind,
No, it's fine.
this works really well with you know, the kind of Stranger Things, Kavinsky, 80s callback, retro fetishizing that's going on right now.
Sure. I mean, it's super bright and neon, and that's one of the things I liked about the Suicide Squad to begin with. Anyway, it felt very neon. It felt very in your face, and these villains should feel really in your face. Unfortunately, the mistake they made with the Suicide Squad is not showing us enough of these people's bad side. Yeah, we get a little backstory. Yeah, we get told, but because they're such large ensemble pieces, we need these people to be explained on their own and why they are bad. And you know, Harley Quinn has killed a number of people, and then we need to see those killings take place. We need to know that the Joker is still worse than her, of course, but by the end of that film, none of them were villains. They were all heroes.
Yes.
And that's the issue, is that they were supposed to be villains. They are supposed to be without conscience and psychopaths and crazy people out to win for themselves. And by the end of the film, they're all just on the same team and they're all fighting the same war as Batman or Superman. It's sort of like, meh.
Yeah, but do you remember that bar scene that took place like before the third act? Or I guess at the beginning of third act. I'm not entirely sure how to count that.
Where they are in the city and they take a break in a bar.
Yeah, and they're just basically like telling everyone like why they're evil. Like, so here are my reasons for being a sociopath, and so on.
Yeah.
And you know, there was heart in that scene, but it was a film that didn't need heart. But you know,
I have no issue with enjoying Harley Quinn without connecting to her on a human level. And that's the trouble, is that they were trying to say, these guys are the bad guys, but please, we want you to connect with them. We want you to believe in them. We want you to trust them and, you know, believe that they are more capable of being heroes than they know. But unfortunately, they knew. They knew what they were capable of, so they didn't have anything to learn. They were saying all the words to be bad guys, but they weren't following through, you know?
No. But, you know, the one big redeeming quality for me personally was the final showdown in that film. Because visually it's so stunning. It turns into this slow-mo uber glare thing. Remember with all the like brightness and the lights, and it was all like so dusty.
Yeah, it's quite a dark movie up to that point too.
And it was,
But there's Pillar in the Sky again.
yeah, I guess to highlight the pillar in the sky, you need some darkness to highlight the light.
But they just do it too much. I swear, in every film, even in Wonder Woman, they had a big pillar of energy in the sky at the end, and Justice League was no different. And I'm pretty sure the next film that's coming up in the bunch is Aquaman. And yes, I am more than willing to watch Jason Momoa do what he needs to do. He can sell a film just by standing there. But, like, you know, he's still Khal Drogo in my eyes. But he, yeah. So I really hope it does well. But I think that DC can redeem itself with these single shot character films. Um, they did well with Wonder Woman
Yeah.
because Wonder Woman is a strong, powerful woman, and we are now in the fourth wave feminism, but like or fifth wave.
I'm not
or
touching that
29th.
with like any stick of any kind.
But and so they've already set up a sequel for 2019, which is good.
That is good. But is it good though? I mean, how is the sequel gonna expand the character? I feel like we better served making a film about one other character they can introduce and build on.
So they are, because they're doing Aquaman. I mean, they're obviously setting up for the newest, for the Justice League in the future. So they're kind of going at it backwards. Now, it's not that I don't believe that the DC universe is beyond redemption, because I do think these one-shot character pieces have the chance to be good. Get Zack Snyder out of there, though. Like, he's done enough. He's done enough damage, and they need to stop paying him to do damage.
I mean, why do they keep paying him? Like,
I don't know.
wasn't Sucker Punch enough?
But
I mean,
but it's a headache. You're right. It's a headache, and he stylistically speaking might have a good vision for things, but he needs to stop with the superheroes. He needs to stop tearing them down.
Is Watchmen DC?
Yes.
Here's the thing. May I?
Yes.
I'm gonna out on a limb because I'm really not qualified to talk about
No, do it.
this in depth. But I feel like the way that they're trying to make their own like cinematic universe with the continuity thing is, I think they went about it the wrong way around. They're trying to emulate what Marvel does, starting from scratch, being way behind in the race. Instead, what I would have done is I would have made Christopher Nolan's Batman canon, and I would have also made Watchmen canon and all the previous superhero movies canon, and just build on the continuity from there. It's risky, but it could work pretty well.
I just have to stop you there. Watchmen can't be part of the same continuity as Batman and Superman. It's not part of the same universe because it's in a world where I don't know if it's in a world where the Nazis won, but it's in a world where things have gone wrong or different to the main canon of normal Earth. So yeah, the Watchmen universe is created by the DC comics, but it's not part of the universe.
Okay.
The reason I don't think that they could possibly make Christopher Nolan's Batman part of the canon is because, well, for one, they could never use the Joker, because no one could do Heath Ledger's Joker justice.
That's fine though.
Even if someone does do it justice, no one will admit that they've done it justice. Because it was Heath Ledger's last great performance. And don't get me started on the Imaginarium of Dr. Parnassus or something that he was in before he died.
Never.
No, I don't know either. But it was Heath Ledger's last great performance. So they can't. And it was already established that these magical things, Ra's al Ghul from the first film is supposed to be this immortal who takes his energy from these is it Genesis fountains or something? But effectively he takes the energy and he's immortal, and so are his servants who and Batman's offered the option to become immortal but doesn't take it. But they didn't run that story. What they did was they had Ra's al Ghul being Batman's teacher and mentor, but he's a normal guy just with extraordinary abilities, a bit like Christian Bale. But unfortunately that style does not work in the DC cinematic universe.
Well, I think the DC cinematic universe could work with that style, because in my proposed variation or alternative reality, all of the DC cinematic universe wouldn't exist. If I were to start all over from scratch, where they were, instead of making Man of Steel in 2013, Maybe they could have made Man of Steel. Like it's
Man of
fine.
Steel was fine. It was a fine film, and I enjoyed it, and I remember enjoying it when I saw it. I remember thinking, oh my god, a lot of people are dying in this film. You know, for someone who's supposed to be a superhero, he's not showing much care or attention to his surroundings. You know, and the thing is, Superman relies on his one-dimensionalness. You know, he's unflinching. He doesn't change. He is superhero born of good and honor and trustworthiness. And you know, if Superman is affected by something, you know straight away because his personality is so one-dimensional. He's there for valor. He's there for the good. He's there to represent everything that's right in the universe. And you know, he's an alien, and Lex Luthor is supposed to be his antithesis, this exact opposite, this human man who is just hateful. Like, he represents everything humanity strives against, Lex Luthor, and Superman, who is an alien, exemplifies what makes humanity its best. And that's what his focus should be on. That's why I don't think any more Superman films are necessary, because they've established him. He is this one-dimensional character. He makes a great enemy when he's pissed off, but he's just, you know, that's it.
I don't know. Jesse Eisenberg is fine, but it's not his best role. Like, his performance is good. It's just the character, I guess, isn't that great.
No, he's just Jesse Eisenberg. He's Jesse Eisenberg playing Lex Luthor, playing Jesse Eisenberg, and
basically.
And unfortunately, and I like Jesse Eisenberg. I mean, we watched him recently in
The Double,
and beautiful
stunning.
performance in that. Like great, loved that film.
Richard Ayoade, by the way.
He does a very good shy, nervous nerd. Jesse Eisenberg also in Zombieland, is that?
Yes.
Yeah. So, but even in that film, you know, he plays the same sort of shy, bumbling, nerdy, geeky, and he plays that very well. But and he also played Mark Zuckerberg very well in
Social Network.
The Social Network.
I mean, okay, that role. I mean, that's probably David Fincher's best film, so it's very unfair to compare anything else to it.
No, but what I was going to say is that he plays Mark Zuckerberg very arrogantly, and like this guy, he effectively, I take it back what I said before, Lex Luthor in Batman vs. Superman is Jesse Eisenberg playing Lex Luthor playing Mark Zuckerberg. And that's the problem, is that his character wasn't different enough. I mean, all right, he's got all this money and he's evil, but who's to say Mark Zuckerberg doesn't have all this money and isn't evil either? So you know, maybe it's more to like.
Well, I think you're implying that Mark Zuckerberg is
Mark Zuckerberg is basically Lex Luthor, yeah.
Le gasp.
Le gasp indeed.
What do you call this gesture I'm doing right now?
I don't know, face palming.
But like on my cheeks, it's like
the scream.
I'm overwhelmed by the tragedy.
You can't believe it. You can't believe it. But no, the glorious thing that we have to look forward to now is this great number of single character pieces they're doing. All right, so you've got them setting up the new Justice League, which is Aquaman, Shazam, and then you've got a Cyborg film. Thank you for a Cyborg film. I mean, I don't have much hope for it, given what I've seen so far of Cyborg in the Justice League. He wasn't given much screen time other than to be the token black guy, which is really frustrating. He deserves far more attention. And then you've got Green Lantern Corps. But that means the new Justice League film won't be out until maybe 2022. which is a ridiculous amount of time. You know, Marvel, they've got Infinity War 1 and 2 coming out in the next year or two, and they're made. I mean, Marvel's made. There's nothing they can put their name to which doesn't at least have some gold dust in it. I retract that for Iron Fist only because I feel like the writing for Iron Fist was not nearly humorous enough to make it worth watching. I just started watching The Punisher, and it seems good, as long as they get off this track of he's having flashbacks all the time. I've only got into episode 3, so but anyway, the way the DC universe can fix itself right now is by making these next few single shot films good.
Yeah. Hopefully by the time we reach, I guess, Suicide Squad 2 or Justice League 2, they will have redeemed themselves.
We're talking like 2025 now, though. Like,
That's
you know,
fine.
all the actors as they are now are going to be like geriatric by then.
Yeah, but like, what's the rush? I think one of the biggest problems with DC is the fact that they did rush it. You know, you can't introduce characters in a film like Justice League or the Avengers or whatever. That's the kind of film which is meant to take all the characters we already know and have some fun with them. It's like a big party. That's all, like defeat the mega evil that's coming in.
So I wish them the best of luck with it, really. If you want my opinion of the Justice League, to finish off, will be about...
Well, we got about 3 more minutes, so yeah.
Okay, so I would go see the Justice League with open eyes. It's not going to be your favourite film of the year. It's nowhere near as good as Avengers, and even though Joss Whedon came in to do some rewrites of the script to make it more humorous, because of course Zack Snyder's original... I don't know if Zack Snyder wrote it.
Wait, who? Joss Whedon?
Joss Whedon came in to do...
Who? What else did he write?
He wrote the Avengers.
Ah, I see.
So even with him coming in, you know, you could see some of his writing in terms of the Flash, whose character was there very obviously and solely for comic relief, and you know, you could see that they were trying to do what Batman vs Superman did, which was give the film humor. The action is great. The characters in places are great. Ben Affleck's Batman doesn't really get much time to shine. I mean, there are moments.
Batfleck.
But inevitably, I'd give the film about a 6 out of 10. It's worth watching, but maybe wait for the Blu-ray.
Batfleck away.
Batfleck away.
Yeah, it's this new ointment to get rid of your Batfleck issues.
Oh, of course.
Like skin irritation. They won't go away.
So yeah, hope for the DC universe is still there, but it's gonna be a rocky road ahead, and you know, if people keep comparing it to Marvel, then they're never gonna get anywhere. So don't compare it to Marvel, all right? This is its own universe in its own right, and it has a right to flourish on its own. But you know,
Without Zack Snyder, though.
Without Zack Snyder. Fuck off, Zack Snyder.
Oh my god.
All right. So, I think after listening to us talk for a long while now, we are going to say adieu. Not adieu, but adieu.
What? Was that French?
Adieu.
Adieu.
Adieu. Adieu. To you, adieu. And thank you for listening to The Sprawl.
Yes, thank you.
Take
we
care.
love you guys. Love everywhere.
Peace.
To everyone.
Peace.
Enjoy your lunch.
For justice.